Hi, it's Dave. Welcome. I'm here joined with Shogofa. So I first want to do a quick intro. My name is Dave Lee. I'm an investor based in Texas, and I'm not a refugee expert by any means. I'm not officially part of the refugee program in Canada. I'm simply a person who joined a few Afghan families to try to navigate the process and to help them, and wanting to try to help some other families. And then Shogofa here, she is an Afghan refugee or a previous refugee to Canada. She now has permanent residence. She came when she was actually, when you were 17 or so, was it?
Yeah. Yeah, I came here when I was 17.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So yeah, Shogofa grew up in Afghanistan, and yeah, came to through the U.S. To Canada as a minor, and she had her entire family in Kabul just 4 or 5 months ago, and they left Kabul into Pakistan at the end of August. And we've been working together to try to help navigate the private sponsorship program in Canada, to try to see if we can get Shogofa's family over through that. And through the process, we've learned a lot of different things. By far, we don't know, we still don't know a lot, but we learned a few things along the way that we wanted to share and help some other refugees who might be kind of interested in the Canada program, might not know what to do, or maybe you know what to do, but you just need some extra tips. And so, again, Shogofa isn't an expert either. She just has done the process herself. And yeah, she was able to turn in an application through a SAW, or a sponsorship agreement holder, about 1 week ago. And so she finished the application, the process, the fundraising, and everything. So in this video, I want to go over just kind of some tips and yeah, see if it can help people. If you're watching this video, if you're a refugee, or if you're trying to apply for the Canada program, if you have some questions, you can put it in the comment section. We probably won't answer. We probably aren't the best people to answer because there's official people working on the program that's much better. But we could just give tips as people who've kind of gone through the process, and just these are just personal tips. They're not official in any way. Okay. So, anyways, Shogofa. First, I want to yeah, congratulate you on finishing the process and turning in your application for your family. I'm extremely proud of you that you've managed to do the whole process in such a short period of time. Like I know it's been stressful for you. Is it a little bit less stressful now that you've turned in your application?
Yeah, thank you so much. It was it was a really stressful process, but I'm glad it's over now. Um, Sorry, I forgot your question.
Yeah, yeah. I'm guessing, are you a little bit less stressed now?
Okay. Um, should I start over?
No, no, no. Go ahead. Yeah, we're gonna post the whole interview, so don't worry
No,
about it.
no, Dave. We should cut
Yeah,
this
yeah, no,
out.
no. Okay, okay. So okay, let me rephrase this. So okay, so you put in your application for your family. It's still stressful, I guess, because you don't know if the application is going to be accepted or not. And this was through Canada's special Afghan initiative. Hopefully, it's an expedited process as well. But yeah, I was just asking, like, how do you feel personally now that you have the application in?
Yeah, I mean the the part, like the stressful part, I feel like is over, which is like finding a SAW organization, because for me that was the most stressful part, because I've been looking for a SAW organization for almost like 3 years, because I wanted to get my family out of Afghanistan even earlier. Like I knew back then that they would have to be in a different country for a SAW organization to sponsor them, but I just wanted to get like some information from them about the process. But I wasn't like really successful at finding a SAW organization, so that was the um, like my main concern, that I was not going to be able to find one, especially when the crisis happened and so many people wanted to get a spot on a SAW organization. So yeah, I'm glad the application process is over now, but it's not 100%. But yeah, my stress levels are a lot lower now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Um, SAW organization, for those who don't know, is short for Sponsorship Agreement Holder. There are about 130 of these official organizations in Canada. They've been approved by the government to process private sponsorship applications for refugees. The advantage of a SAW is, first, you don't need UNHCR status to apply or to be eligible. And then second, the SAWs now have access to a special Afghan initiative in Canada that is an expedited process, and it's a limited time, limited number of spots. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So Shogofa, it's been a crazy 3 or 4 months of going through this process with you. What was the hardest part of the whole process for you?
I think the hardest part of like the whole process was filling out the applications. But like in the beginning, it was mostly reaching out to people for support because like I didn't know how to go about contacting SAW organizations or refugee advocates or people that in a way could help me out. So in the beginning, I just had a little bit of a challenging time reaching out to SAW organizations. But later on, I think it was filling out the applications.
Okay. So after you secured a SAW organization and a
Yeah.
local constituent group as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your process? How long did it take for you to find a SAW organization and a local constituent group?
So my family left like in late August, and then I started the process of looking for a SAW organization in mid-September. And I think it took me about a month to find a church first. So mid-October, I was able to find a church through one of my friends. She told me that their church has done sponsorships before in the past, so I could probably contact them and see if they can also undertake my family's application. And then I contacted the church, but they told me to contact the organization that they work with, because if the organization accepts my case, then they will go ahead with the application. So I contacted the organization, and I think it took me 2 weeks to actually get in touch with the person who was in charge of the refugee program at the organization. And so that took me about like a month and a half. And once I was able to actually find a SAW organization, they got me in. This time, the church was not able to support me anymore, so I had to go find another church. And then the process of finding a second church took me, I think, 2 more weeks. So in total, like the whole process of securing a SAW and also a church to act as a constituent group took about like 2 months.
Yeah. How many emails do you think you sent in this process?
Oh, I think I sent over like probably close to 200, because I contacted a lot of like churches and organizations all across Canada, not just in Vancouver and BC. So for sure, like more than 200 emails I sent. And out
probably
of
a lot
that,
more. Right,
yeah,
than that. I would imagine at least 500, right?
yeah, like it was I sent a lot of emails, and out of all of them, I was only able to really get answer from a few of the churches, and yeah.
How many phone calls do you think you made during the 3 or 4 months that you've been working on this?
It might sound like an exaggeration, but like 1,000 to 2, like between 1 to 2,000. And it was mostly reaching out to, like, again, SAW organizations and refugee advocates. It was not just like the calls and the emails were not just like to SAWs or to churches, but also people outside of like churches and SAW organizations like refugee advocates or also journalists. So yeah, all of them including.
Got it. Did you do, so I'm guessing you did more phone calls than emails, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then how'd you find these phone numbers and people to call?
Mostly through Google searches, But I also was reading like articles about past Group of Five sponsorships, and also like refugee, and also I was reading like articles about the Syrian crisis back in 2016 and 17. So that really helped me like find people that I could connect with. And so once I had like a name of an organization or a person, then I would try to like Google and see if I could find contact information. Yeah.
Did contacting like not just SAW organizations, but also other refugee advocates or different people that had done sponsorships, was that helpful at all? Did that kind of help you in the process?
Um, I would say not really, except that they would like, because they would not really in a way, not that they were not helpful, but they just were like giving me the same information that I already knew. So basically telling me to contact churches and organizations. But there were also like a lot of people that I met throughout the whole process that were really helpful and helped me a lot with like the applications, and also connecting me to other like churches, and yeah, mostly churches. Yeah.
Got it. Did you think it would take this much work?
I did not. Especially, I didn't think it would take me like 2,000 phone calls to find a church or an ASA organization. Yeah.
How many hours a week did you work on this?
Like hours. I was working between 8 to 10 hours a day. So that would be like close to 70 hours a week.
Okay.
And including weekends.
Did you take any days off?
No, not during the 3-4 months. At like the first 3-4 months, yeah.
Okay, so 3 or 4 months straight, every day, 8 to 10 hours. What kept you motivated? Why did you keep on doing it every day?
Like my family, because yeah, like they had a really hard time at the border, crossing the border into Pakistan, and they got rejected like 8 times, and finally they were able to make it to Pakistan. And then when they also moved to Kuwait, they were staying there for a month, and they had a really hard time like finding housing, proper housing. And also the whole experience was like really traumatic for all of my family members, and especially my siblings, because they were like younger. And then later on, when they moved to Islamabad, they would like hear news of people getting deported every day from Pakistan back to Afghanistan. And so that like really pushed me, like motivated me to keep going and contact as many organizations and churches as I possibly could, in and like try to find a way to get them out of Pakistan. Yeah.
Do you regret spending so much time, like 8 to 10 hours a day, every day for 3 or 4 months?
It was really challenging and very stressful, but not even a bit. Yeah, I don't regret anything. Yeah.
Do you think, like, do you think the outcome would have been different if you didn't spend as much time? If you spent just like, a quarter of the time, just an hour a day, or just something, a few hours a week? Do you think you could have gotten the same outcome?
I don't think so, because I made like close to 2,000 phone calls, right? And also wrote at least like between 200 to 500 emails. And and I did that every day for 3 months. And I was finally able to get one church and one SAW organization. So if I were only to work on it for like an hour a day, I don't think I would have been able to find a SAW organization or a church.
Yeah. What do you? I get some people who contact me sometimes and say, oh, I've tried to contact SAW organizations, but they don't get back to me, and I tried really hard. And then I ask them, how many did you contact? And then they say three of them. I sent 3 emails, right? One to each organization, and they didn't get back to me. So I give up. Yeah, why does it take so much effort? Why does it take so many emails and so many phone calls, you think, to reach, and to, try to get something done?
Um, I think like right now, because the demand is so high, like so many people are trying to reach to the SAH organizations, they probably take a lot longer to get back to you. For example, with my SAH organization, I had like, even when I talked to them and I secured a spot with them, I had to like wait at least a week for them to get back to me to answer to a question of mine. And Yeah, so I think, and then when I like talked to them at the beginning, they were telling me not to actually like call or email them too often because they're really busy and they probably can't get back to me on time because they receive like 300 phone calls just on a day. So
Wow.
probably also that, like the demand really.
Hmm.
But in the beginning, it was also hard for me to reach out to SAH organizations. So I would just call them like 3 times, 4 times a week, like one SAH organization, 4 times, 5 times a week. Because, you think you're bothering them, but then it gets to a point where you actually have to do it. So if something is stopping you, like it makes you feel like you're bothering people at the SAH organization and you don't get an answer from them, don't be shy. Send them
Hmm.
an email or like give them another call because at the end of the day, they're there to help and it's their job.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think there's any cultural kind of differences from, like, you know, how you were brought up in Afghanistan? Did Was it hard to make phone calls and to write these emails, to ask directly for something? Was there any cultural type of, adjustments that you had to make?
Um, yeah, I had like a hard time. mm, Uh, like, you have to this whole barrier between me and them because I'm the person who is reaching out to them and they are the person in power, like they have the authority. But so it was like challenging in that way for me. But also, sorry, can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, was there cultural challenges where you had to overcome how you were brought up, in order to email and to call people and to ask things directly?
Um, Asking things
Like in
directly.
Afghanistan, do people ask very directly and repetitively and keep on asking, like how you had to do it, or is that difficult?
No, we never like ask for things directly. At least that's how I was not brought
Hmm.
up. So in that way, it was really a bit challenging to like contact organizations and churches in the beginning and be direct with what you want. But the whole process was just like a learning process for me as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I had a little bit of difficulty asking them directly what I
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning, when you wrote emails to them, what was it like, and how was it different after a few months where you learned how to write better emails? So, like, for example, what was one of your first emails like, and then compared to later on, like, how did you improve your emails over time?
Yeah, like the first emails I wrote, they were super long, like as if I was writing an essay for an English class. Yeah, it included like information about my family, how they left, they're from, and very vague want, like what I want from them.
Mm.
But then later on, as I was writing more and more, I kept the information part about my family a bit short, but also giving them enough information so that they know who my family is and who they are, and also being really direct about what I need from them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what kind of things did you ask? What were you kind of focusing on your emails typically?
So if I was reaching out to a SAH organization for the
Hmm.
first time, it was mostly um, trying to secure a spot with them. if my family could be considered for their 2022 sponsorship program. And if I was reaching to like refugee advocates or like journalists, it was mostly if I could get interviewed by them. For example, like my family left, and I'm willing to share my story. And if it was like refugee advocates, it was mostly asking if they could connect me to organizations or churches that they know can do sponsorships or have done it in the past.
How about your phone calls, like skills? Did they improve over time? Like, how was your first phone calls versus later on after a few months?
My phone calls, I think they were pretty much the same, like the ones that I made at the beginning with the ones that I made later on, because you make a connection with them instantly. And so like they keep asking you questions and you answer them. For example, with like a few organizations that I had, it was really easy to like talk to them and build that connection which is hard to make it through emails. And then once I made that connection with them, it was a lot easier for me to ask them directly what I wanted because the trust and the connection was already there. I think it was different at times. I think because like dependent on who was answering my phone calls. If it was someone who was easier to talk to, I had a really easy time like talking to them as well. But also sometimes you call people or organizations that might not be like open to talk to. And I feel like that's where you have to kind of try to be yourself. Like yourself have to be open and willing to share. And they will accept.
Yeah. How about the times when people just were mean to you? They just like, kind of like rebuked you, told you like, why are you calling? Or, like just didn't help you. Like how did that make you feel? And then how did you get over things like that?
It happened a lot. The first few times it happened, it did affect me a lot, but then I was getting used to it. And then halfway through, I built a thick skin and it was not affecting me as much as it was in the beginning. So it was like a bit challenging in the beginning, but if they can't help, they can't help. So but there were a lot of nice people too who would usually connect you to like other organizations, but the rude ones were not that frequent. So yeah.
Got it. What if you had a friend who was very close to you and who wanted to do private sponsorship for their family who were refugees? What would be the number one advice you would give your friend, you think?
First of all, I think what I struggled with was just contacting organizations, because in a way you feel like you're wanting too much from them and you're asking too much from them. So I would tell them, if they're hesitant, to be bold and to contact them. And when it comes to filling out the applications, make sure that you start early, because the application, it asks for like a lot of detailed information, specific dates and like places where the events took place, and that requires a lot of time, and also going back to like old memories, and a lot of it also you have to like ask your family members, sometimes extended family members, and it can take a long time for them to get back to you. So you have to make sure that you have a lot of time to work on the application and get it reviewed by someone. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. It's definitely some good advice there. I think one of the things I noticed was, and I told you this early when you first started, I'm like, I think this is going to take a lot of effort, and
Yeah.
you really need to focus on it. And you had to make some hard decisions where, you know, you had to, drop out of school, at least this semester, that semester, and you had to drop or not work, quit work and just focus on this alone. And I think that's one of the things I think I see is some people think that it's just making a few emails or a few phone calls, and then, if it doesn't work out, they get very frustrated. But it's like, I think the way I see it is the SAH organizations, they want to help people. And there's some great people in the SAH organizations, that I've met and talked with. It's just that they have so many people, that they're dealing with every day, so many emails, so many phone calls, that you have to find a way to stick out. You have to find a way to make your story different, right? And it could be like just continually contacting them over and over. It could be drafting a certain type of email or story that's very different or very compelling, and also like coming up with some creative ways to like get introduced to the SAH. If someone else introduces you, like if a local church who's worked with the SAH before introduces you to the SAH was going to pay more attention to that. There's different ways, I think, but a lot of this is relationship building. Like you can't expect just one email or one phone call is going to do everything. You have to work really hard on it and try a lot of organizations, a lot of churches, and just try to build relationships and hope that one of them will continue and open a door for you. But I think that's one of the things I've noticed is this kind of idea of most people don't understand how much work it's going to take, but I think in your case, you were very motivated, but also, I was very just encouraging you to make this your top priority and to not give up and spend as much time as you can. And I think, I'm glad that you did it, and you found, the right organization and everything. But yeah, I think one of my advice would be don't expect it to require a lot of work, and don't complain until you have called 2,000 times, meaning until you've called as many times as Shogofa, then you have not put in enough work, until you get 2,000 phone calls done, you should just continue to work and just, try hard to make it happen. Regarding the sponsorship program, so there are different, private sponsorship programs in Canada. Under the private sponsorship, you have the regular SAH program through the sponsorship agreement holders. And every year they have a certain number of spots. You need to secure the spots early on. And Canada has recently released a special Afghan initiative. These are expedited spots that are extra in addition. And the SAHs each have gotten allocation. This is like today is January 14th, 2022. I heard actually the SAHs, most of them are expecting more spots. And they think that the first allocation is just the first one. And I actually talked to a SAH today that said they're a large SAH that processes many hundreds of refugee applications every year, but they only got 10 spots, they're saying, for the first allocation. They're saying, though, that the government told them this is just the first allocation and that they're expecting more, and they filled out a form to request more. But and some of these organizations still have not decided who to give the spots to, and they're kind of still filling or getting the information from people. So there's some SAHs that have some forms to fill out. And I just talked to one SAH. They said the next 2 weeks, they're taking expression of interest, which means on their website, you fill out the form. They're going to review the cases and determine who can qualify for both the regular program, but also the special Afghan initiative. So yeah, it's important. I think the next couple weeks, people act fast and try to contact a lot of groups. Would you suggest contacting local churches first that have sponsored refugees so they can be your kind of constituent group, or do you think contacting SAHs first is better, or both at the same time?
I suggest that you contact churches if you can, because if they connect you to the SAH organization, then it's a lot easier to get a spot with the SAH organization, because my approach in the beginning was contacting the SAH organizations and asking them if they could give me a spot. But then when I reached out to churches, they would connect me to the SAH organization. And in that way, I would actually get a lot more response from the SAH organization than if I were to just like directly contact them. And then this organization that did my family's sponsorship application, they were actually the organization that I contacted through a church. So yeah, I definitely recommend that you reach out to churches, because if they connect you to a SAH, it is probably going to be a lot better. But also at the same time, you should try to contact SAH organizations as well, because you never know, they might answer.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that advice. All right, sounds good. I think this is a good kind of first video. Maybe in the future you might, if there's some questions people have that want some more details on some of these tips, maybe we can do another video sharing some more things. But yeah, we don't have a ton of information, just the information that we've learned along the process. And hopefully this will help a few people understand a strategy. I think part of it is like having a strategy on how to do this. I think first, that is possible. Second, you've got to work really hard, make a lot of phone calls. Third, it's probably best to go through the local churches or groups that have sponsored refugees so they can contact the SAHs on your behalf. And don't give up. Get a spot, work on the application, get it done. There's a lot of, I guess, issues also with funding. The SAHs probably require some type of, finances, but we won't talk about that for this video. I think that's probably another topic. But I think those are the kind of the key things. I'm saying you need the local church or constituent group, you need the SAH, and then you need the funds. And then once the SAH can give you that spot, and then they'll help you work on the application. You work on the application, then you get the funds in, and then the SAH will turn in the application on your behalf. And then you basically need to wait, for the government to process your application. So that's kind of the whole process, I think, in a nutshell. Anything I'm missing there?
No, I think you covered basically everything. Yeah, it's either the church or a constituent group on the side.
Yeah. All right. If we told you guys any false information, don't blame us, because we're not experts at all. We're just normal people, just like hanging out, just sharing our own experience. All right. Thank you, Shogofa, for everything. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.